Hi, I'm Ria.
Hi, I'm Haley, and together we are
Locals of a Spoonie,
sharing stories.
creating connections.
So today we have Danni that's coming on to join us. She's going to be on discussing her illnesses, her conditions that she's been diagnosed with, as well as the journey that she's ongoing at the moment. So yeah, we're looking forward to getting her in to chat to us.
Absolutely. And before we get started, we just want to give a trigger warning. Today we are going to be talking about mental health and the journeys to getting diagnosed and what happened to bring on the diagnosis. So if you get triggered by talking about mental health and the stories behind them, then we do not recommend this podcast for you, but please do return to watch the other podcast, and we will always give you trigger warnings beforehand. So yeah, should we get started?
Yeah, let's get Danni in.
Okay.
Hello there. Well, I'm Danni. I'm 24. I'm from Scotland, and I have social anxiety and normal anxiety.
Yeah, and we're gonna have a discussion with Danni today about her conditions and how she got her diagnosis and sort of a bit of a history about how they came about and coping mechanisms, treatment and things, and hopefully it'll help and resonate with a lot of people who are listening, and maybe it'll help people who are looking to get a diagnosis themselves or already have a diagnosis, and they'll maybe find a lot of common traits.
And just know that you're not alone and others in the world suffer with it. And maybe today she will give you a bit of information that you didn't know what to do with your, with the way you're feeling, or ways of coping. And something may just, like as Haley said, resonate with you and make you go, oh, do you know what? That's how I've been feeling. And it's so nice to hear that I'm not alone.
Exactly. So let's get started.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, you've got any hobbies or?
Well, I collect K-pop albums.
Okay.
I also do TikTok. That's where I met these lovely ladies from. I do YouTube as well, but I've not done that in over a year.
Yeah.
What
is it about K-pop that you like?
Just the music, even though I don't really understand it.
Oh, is it not in English?
Like, some songs are in English,
okay.
But some aren't. But most of them aren't in English, so I don't understand what they're saying. Yeah.
I guess there's a real community around, especially like I know you like BTS and things like that. There's a real community of people around that, isn't there? So it's probably nice to have that, group of people that you get to know through the music and things as well. Yeah.
There was a big smile on your face then when she mentioned BTS. That
yeah.
Shot across your face.
I like
BTS. So other than K-pop and that, do you like? Is there anything else you enjoy doing in your daytime? Or
not a lot. So I don't really do a lot at the minute. I just like spending time alone half the time. But yeah, not a lot.
We like our alone time too, don't we, Haley?
Very much so. Very much so. Sometimes your own company's the best. So
do you find that your anxiety, that having time alone is helpful for your anxieties?
Sometimes if I'm having a good day, then like I want to be around lots of people. Mm-hmm. But if I'm having like a really bad day, then I literally I'm in my own bubble. I just avoid all human contact.
Yeah. And I guess it's probably kind of hard to gauge, obviously when you have a good day and you can have a bad day, it's maybe hard to gauge sometimes how good of a day it is, and maybe too much social contact can end up triggering a bad day almost. And
yeah,
it's trying to get the balance of being social, but at the same time you do need that time to yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you know when your anxieties began for you? Do you remember when you started first, like realizing something was happening?
So 2017, after my dog passed away, I started like feeling really anxious, but I've always been like a really anxious person. But in 2019, 2018 going into 2019, I was struggling even more. I left college from it, but I got fully diagnosed at the start of last year.
So recently then, very recent.
Yeah, and then they're trying to test me for more stuff.
How do you feel about that? Do you feel that's the right path for you, or do you feel that's overwhelming? Or
It's scary. Like, what are they gonna diagnose me with? Like, I don't know.
I suppose the tests and things are kind of overwhelming for getting diagnosed with things as well. So it can be hard to go through the processes for getting diagnosis as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard.
lots of personal questions and lots of trying to remember the past, and sometimes remembering the past isn't the best thing for your mental health in the first place, you know. So completely understand that. But are they being really good with you with it? Like, are they being very supportive?
Well, I'm on a referral list for a psychiatrist again. But the last time I had one, they stopped all my appointments because I wasn't opening up to them.
Oh, okay. I'm what I know of a psychiatrist, because I have one, is the one thing they're very good for, obviously, is they help you get diagnoses that you need. And I personally find, I don't know about yourself, that having a diagnosis, I can deal with what's in front of me. So do you feel that if you got a diagnosis of, I don't know, depression or something like that, would you then go, okay, well, that fits with how I was feeling with this and this? Or are you feeling that it's going to make you feel upset, or like?
I think I just want answers to why I've been feeling even more the way I have been at the minute, because I know it's just not anxiety that I've got. It's got to be something else.
Yeah.
I just don't know what it could be entirely, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they can help bring those answers for you to help with that.
Yeah, and just kind of to bring it back a little bit, whenever you were talking about, I think it was 2019 that you said you got your diagnosis of, it was both anxiety and social anxiety. Was it both the diagnoses at the same time, or?
I got my normal anxiety at the start of last year, and then just like a month later, it was social anxiety, because they were like, "Oh, we've missed something out.
Mm-hmm.
Got this too."
Okay, and how did you find the process for getting the diagnosis for both of those types of anxiety? How did you go about that, and sort of what was the process with going to the doctors and what you went through to get that diagnosis?
So I went to a mental health hub local to me, and they just asked me a bunch of questions, and they're like, remember everything that's happened to you. So I was like trying to go through my head, and they were asking me lots of questions, and I actually started crying because it brought up kind of a lot of memories of what happened in the past. And they were like, "Oh, okay, we won't talk about that now. We'll change the subject." I'm like, "Thank you." But after that, they were like, "Okay, we'll have a talk with the psychiatrist," and then they phoned me back. They're like, "Okay, you've got anxiety, and if you've got anything else about that, we'll bring you back." And then a month later, they'd be like, "Yes, you've now got social anxiety."
Okay. Did they give you the definition of what the difference was between them?
Yeah, and it's been really hard to just like go at myself and just to want to do stuff, not just
I can imagine.
want to come with me.
Yeah.
Oh, is that the social anxiety side of it? Is you need somebody with you to be out with the other people and stuff.
Yeah. Or if I'm trying to go out myself, I had to have like really loud music on and just like distract myself.
Yeah. And sort of, do you have other coping mechanisms and things that you find that are helpful, you know, even just not necessarily with social anxiety being out, but even just, you know, coping mechanisms whenever you feel maybe an anxiety attack, or if you feel that building inside you, do you have coping mechanisms that help you? I know you mentioned listening to music, but if there's anything else that, you know, is helpful for you?
I colour
Okay.
when I've got the right headspace, or I diamond paint.
Oh,
One
I
of them
do love a good
my
diamond
birthday
painting.
last year. Or I don't know, I cook because I
Do you
studied
like cooking?
college. Yeah.
Are you more of like a cook, as in like meats and potatoes and that lot? I don't know what it's called, or like cakes and sweet stuff.
A bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah. Because when I was at school, I got an A in both of them,
Oh wow.
Brilliant.
and I always got compliments on them.
Very good. So do you just bake for family and friends and things then? Yeah, and
Yeah.
cook dishes and things for them?
Yeah.
I have to ask this because I get asked it all the time. What's your favorite like food to cook?
I love making spaghetti bolognese.
You
That's like
cannot
my
beat a good
favourite
spag
dish.
Spag bog is the best.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
Every time I'm on holiday, I get I try spaghetti bolognese from all the restaurants that I'm at, even if it's like Spain or something.
Yeah.
Always spaghetti bolognese.
Have to compare it.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're just Italian, Danny. We're just Italian, obviously.
Yeah, Italian in heart.
But they're both it's homely food. You know what I mean? It's comfort food, and I think when you suffer with things like an anxiety and depression, you want to get in your comfy clothes, on your comfy seat, and have a really just a comfort eating kind of meal, don't you?
Like a hug in a bowl.
Yeah, hug in a bowl. I love that. And spaghetti bolognese is definitely, especially if you're slurping it up and you got it all up your cheeks and everybody tells you. Not that that's happened to me, but
yeah, you've got to be messy with your spaghetti bolognese. It's gonna happen.
Absolutely do. Just one thing I wanted to ask you, or what you mentioned before. You mentioned a health hub. Is it health hub or a mental health hub?
Yeah.
What is that?
So it's just like a hub, that like all the mental health workers work at. And they're in like their separate rooms, and they'll take you in there, ask questions and stuff, and then there's like other rooms just off the waiting room part, because it's like a big open plan type building, and there's like what's it called, the psychiatrist's place, and like meeting rooms. And
okay, that's pretty
And
cool.
is it like a walk-in center or?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That's really good.
That's really good to have access to so many different levels of mental health in just this little hub that's technically like a almost walk-in. Like that's really good, especially around. I mean, that's the other thing I was going to ask you is like, how did you find getting diagnosed in like the pandemic, because that's when a lot of it started happening for you, wasn't it? Right at the beginning. Did you find it got delayed because of it, or did you find it like was quite smooth running?
Right at the start, it was okay. But like when I had to get my psychiatrist appointments and stuff, it took ages to like go through because of obviously the pandemic, and they didn't want to book appointments in, even though it was on the phone. And my medication,
social distancing.
Yeah, and for my medication, it took a really long time.
Okay.
To get it, like in May, I think.
And has there been a lot of trial and error with your medication in order to, you know, determine what's right for you, or is it fairly sort of straightforward with the medication?
Well, I'm on one type of medication, but every time I try and repeat the prescription, it doesn't go through.
Well, we all know that one too well. That was what a question I was going to ask you, because one of the difficulties that I myself definitely hear a lot of is people struggling to get their medication, and then they end up going time without it. Do you find that if there's a bit of a delay, I don't know if you've actually had to miss the medication, but if you have had missed the medication for like a day or two, have you found that affected you, or did you find that it just all ran smoothly?
It affected me because like I was like so used to taking it, and then like when I didn't have any, just like my mood completely changed.
Absolutely.
And like I just was not a nice person. Basically, I was very grumpy and moody, and just not wanting to be near people. But I had to be near my granddad because I'll semi look after him.
You sound like you're close to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's been there for me since I was like 12, even younger than that.
Oh, it's a nice bond to have, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely is a nice bond to have. Did he understand when you told him about your anxiety?
Not really. Like, he asked a lot of questions. I can't really tell him a lot of stuff because he's losing his memory a lot at the minute. So if I just like with days and where he's going, so I can't really tell him like how I'm feeling. To be honest, I can't really tell anyone how I'm feeling because my mum's dealing with the same stuff. My dad doesn't understand. My sister just thinks it's an act.
I guess it's really hard as well, isn't it? I think that was something we were going to come on to, is the stigma that there is around anxiety. And I think it's just a term that's thrown about so readily by everybody. You know, they say, oh, I'm feeling anxious, or oh, I've got anxiety. And it's not to play down. Some people do feel that way and maybe don't have a diagnosis, but I think it's just a term that gets thrown around so much. It kind of takes away from the true meaning behind what it is and how much it actually really affects people. And there is still a stigma there around it. So it's hard to kind of break down that barrier and, you know, explain to people, you know, how serious it is. If you find any way that has helped you to try and to explain it to anybody, or breaking down those barriers to even to a friend, or you know, trying to explain it to your sister or anything?
Like when I say to her, if I say I'm not feeling well, that means I'm not feeling well mentally. And she's like, oh, you're just putting it on. Get over it.
Really?
So she does not understand. But she's dealt with my mum with it. But she's just not understanding me.
Mm.
Do you have any support network? Do you have a friend or a family member that does understand that you turn to on a bad day?
Not really. I've lost all friends through it, and obviously through the pandemic.
Yeah,
it must be really tough.
Yeah,
absolutely. My goodness, my heart goes out to you, sweetheart. It's tough enough going through mental health when you've got support, but when trying to do it alone with people not understanding, it's really difficult. And as you said, you know, you're about to go through diagnosis system, and it's very strenuous on your mental health going through that. It's not easy, and so needing a support network, just anybody, is so important. So have they offered you anyone like a support worker or somebody that can help you do things like once a week or something? Has that been offered to you?
it's not been offered to me. I might ask like someone to help me.
Yeah, there are out there. There's some free networks of people. So if you have a little Google, there's normally in most areas. I know there's some areas that don't have them yet, but there is a care system, a free care system for those with mental health. But you can also ask your mental health hub that you go to about having a support worker that you'd find it beneficial to yourself. Normally you get them for up to 6 months, but if it really does help you, then normally they allow it to go on for longer or indefinitely. So it would definitely be something to ask for, especially if you're lacking in support elsewhere, for sure.
Definitely.
I will have Google.
There's a question I'm dying to ask, but it's not one I thought up, so I don't want to ask it. But Hayley, you had a question about asking her about advice to her old self.
Yeah, so it was just something that we both, well, I think it was sort of collaborative. We both came up with the kind of idea of asking you, if you could go back and speak to yourself, maybe it's back in 2017, whenever, you first started feeling symptoms and things. If there's something that you could go back and tell yourself, given what you've been through now, what would that bit of advice be? Would it be to do with getting a diagnosis? Would it be dealing with symptoms, or how you explain it to people? Just from your experience now, what would you tell your past self?
I would tell my past self to cherish your family, hug your dog, for the diagnosis or symptoms, just breathe through them, ask for help.
Yeah.
If you need help with anything, just ask. Even Google it, even though you're not supposed to Google stuff like that, but
we do.
Everyone does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're not supposed to Google it, but
no, I think that's really good advice though, because I think it is hard sometimes to just take that first step to ask for help. I think a lot of people really struggle, myself included, to just actually make that first step, because it's admitting you're vulnerable and it's admitting that you need help.
yeah.
So it kind of starts from you yourself deciding that you need to take that step.
Absolutely. You just saying about just breathing, it's one, and breathing and asking for help are the two hardest things to do, because especially with anxiety, it's one half of the brain shutting down and the other one becoming overstimulus. So trying to think and just know what to do, it just doesn't happen. But afterwards, everything you should have done afterwards, like, oh my goodness, I should have done this, that, and the other. Do you have anything set in place to remind you, like, when I'm having an anxiety attack, breathe, or to tap? Or did you have anything that, like, I have Post-it notes. That was my first ever thing I used. I put Post-it notes around when I was having an anxiety attack. I made them bright when I was panicking. I always pace when I panic. And I'll spot a bright Post-it note, and I'm like, oh yeah, tap. It just says tap, tap. So I know to start my butterfly tapping, which I think you've seen me do before. But do you have any like reminders for yourself to do the things that work for you?
Not really, but I know just to breathe. If that doesn't help, I just let go itself, if that makes sense.
It won't last forever. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, because sometimes the breathing doesn't work and I'm just like sitting there, or if I'm in the shop, which happened before, I'm just like, what do I do? And I just carry on what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And it sometimes passes. If it doesn't, and I'm like, okay, this isn't working, I'll need to do something about it.
It's really good that you push yourself forward, because the problem with anxiety is it makes us want to retreat, stop and run away. Fight or flight is the main saying, which you've probably heard 1,000 times. So telling yourself, like, let's keep going with this, you're going to pass, because obviously when you're in the middle of it, it doesn't feel like it's ever going to end, does it? Yeah. But having the ability to remind yourself that this is going to pass, I'm okay is really good. Like you should be proud of yourself for being able to do that. It takes a long while for people to get that into their brains, and so for you to be doing that, that's really good. It's
Thank
really good. You're so proud of yourself, and
you should be
Yeah.
because it's hard whenever, like you said, whenever you're in that, I don't want to say state, but whenever you're in that scenario and you get into that headspace, all you can think about is everything that's going wrong or what could go wrong. It's so hard to just focus on the task at hand, and being able to get yourself into that frame of mind, to carry on is really impressive. And did that just sort of happen naturally, or did you find that there was a technique that you used to be able to continue what you're doing? Or
so my dad's fiance is like a mental health nurse, and she would like give me tips and stuff with it. So she would say like Chinese breathing, like techniques, and like just try and wait it out. So I would try them, but some of them wouldn't work. So I would just like try the wait out method, and then it would slowly release itself or something. But I've just tried to work it out the past few years. So
trial and error.
Yeah, seems to be doing something.
But Dad, you're a million steps ahead of me, and I've been doing it a long time. Like it's to be able to do that in that moment, like as we keep saying, it's brilliant. It's amazing.
It really is.
So fair play to you, girl. Like I wish I could. You have to teach me how you do that. Teach me, for definite. But it sounds like that you have some family members that, although maybe you can't go to for everything, that she's giving you some really, really good advice there. So maybe on a bad day, that's somebody you could possibly reach out to.
Yeah. When she's not working, I sometimes talk to her, but I have quite a weird relationship with some of my family. Just quite a strange relationship, but
families always have. Every family's the same. There's always difficulties and strains on relationships and things that happens. So that can be an obstacle in itself for a lot of conditions. Not just anxiety as you have, but a lot of conditions and things can put a lot of strain on families, and it can be hard to sort of get those relationships back on track and things too. So I guess it's just one step at a time.
Yeah, definitely. Anxiety and depression definitely can cause little rifts in the family that weren't meant to be made, but because of anxiety and depression, they seem a lot bigger and a lot deeper. And so not correcting them, but coming through them and overcoming them are a lot more difficult when mental health is involved. So but hopefully that over time, once you've got all your diagnoses and you can sit down with them and talk them through, hopefully some bonds will mend and you'll have some support there.
Hopefully I get back to having support in that sense again.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Definitely. Do you do like self-care days and things like that, or is there anything that you can do? But I suppose you covered some activities and things. It's just if there's anything, if you're having a particularly bad day, is there anything that you can do to help with that just at home?
Well, I dye my hair a lot. I went through so many hair colours in the past few years, but when I'm like in that really down stage, I dye my hair.
Do you find that changing your appearance is a massive soother? Like changing the color of your hair always makes you look different, doesn't it? Do you find that if you're feeling low, you feel low about yourself, and that by dyeing your hair, making yourself look like a different person, that is what makes you perk up a bit? Is that what makes you feel better?
Like dye my hair, I get piercings and tattoos, so I kind of just alter my appearance to make myself a bit more happier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have
I completely get
tattoos?
Yes, I've
Oh, you know it's bad when you have to think in your head how many you know you have a lot.
How many?
8 tattoos and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 piercings.
Wow. You've got a good pain tolerance level then.
Sort of. Sort
I
of.
always wanted this one done, but I seen how they do it. Like, so you're brave, girl. Like, you're really brave.
It's great.
I noticed a few things that made you smile. BTS, obviously. Like the smile that came across your face when Hayley mentioned BTS was just huge. It was like a Cheshire cat. And changing of your appearance, like dyeing your hair and the piercings and that lot. Whilst you were counting, you just had this little grin on your face, like, oh, that one, oh yeah, and then that one, like remembering them. So do your tattoos have like stories behind them? Like, are they of specific things that make you happy, or are they just random?
So I've got my most meaningful one is my picture of a portrait of my dog.
Okay.
Passed away in 2017. Can I show that one?
What type of dog was it? Is it a Schnauzer?
Is it Terrier?
Scotty dog.
Oh, Scotty. Oh, I love them.
So I got that in December of 2017. So that's my most meaningful one because it's like a tribute to him. And then I've got a crown above it because he was like my little prince.
Oh, I love that.
But other ones, it's just random ones that I've got. One on the back of my arm, which I always forget that's there because it's so small.
Yeah.
I suppose you don't see it as well, back of your arm. You never see the back of your arm.
It's 97 in Roman numerals because
Okay.
that's the year that I was born.
Lovely.
And then the one on my finger, I don't know, I just randomly got that.
Did you say on your finger?
Yeah.
That's meant to be the most painful, one of the most painful places to have a tattoo.
It was okay, actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
She's a pro. She has 8.
I think the back of my arm was more sore, or my ankle, because that was right on a bone.
Ooh. See, I've always known it to be the fleshy, like you said, the back of your arm. I would imagine fleshy bits to be really quite painful, but
I always thought bouncing on the bone would be. I've always wanted one. I always wanted one on my finger. I don't know why, but I love them. Like that one you've got there, I love it. It's stunning. You say it's random, but I literally love it.
I just found off at Pinterest.
You can't be a bit Pinterest. I've seen some little Studio Ghibli ones that I love on my ankle and stuff like that. See, your BTS that makes you go, mine is Studio Ghibli.
Yeah.
I love Studio Ghibli with everything. As Hayley knows, I watch it over and over again. But I've
she's wearing a Studio Ghibli top, by the way. Just
oh, the wonder. Is that
bus?
the Cheshire Cat?
It's cat bus. It's a bus.
Ah, that's so cool.
Totoro, the animal Totoro and all the other creatures get on the bus to go on journeys, and it jumps over the hills like a normal cat, but it's a bus.
Ah, I did wonder, like, is that a cat bus, or is that just a cat with a bus on its back?
It's the cat jumping over houses. If you can see the little houses down here with the power poles and stuff. So I'd love to have ones like that, but even though I've had all the surgeries I've had and injections I've had, I just I don't think it's the I have social anxiety as well, and I think it's the whole idea of being trapped in a chair for a period of time and not being able to move. And normally when you go to a tattoo parlor, there's somebody stood there talking, just somebody that's not getting a tattoo done, but just somebody visiting and chatting away.
Yeah.
If it was one-on-one, I probably could do it, but the whole idea of not being able to move and somebody else being there, it terrifies me. So when I say to you, you know, you being able to push forward in that lot, it's huge. it's a huge thing, and you really should, and I don't mean it in a patronizing way, you should really be proud of yourself for saying to yourself, like, let's just, like, we're going to move forward, this is going to go away, so you really should be proud of yourself, girl. It's a tough step to do. Pros can't do it, so well done.
Thank you.
The other thing that I had was if there are any resources that you would recommend for other people who are maybe listening or watching who have anxiety, or maybe are on the path for getting a diagnosis, or maybe even earlier than that, they just have symptoms and they think it could be anxiety of some sort of anxiety disorder. Is there anything that you would recommend resource-wise, or even just advice that you would give to somebody who's maybe going on a journey that's similar to yours?
I would say get a doctor's appointment straight away, and just tell them what's going on, and they'll refer you to the mental health team. Or if you've got symptoms or something that you want to look at, if you're in Scotland or anything, if you want the NHS, look at their websites, because I look a lot on their websites and see what is going on. And just ask if you've got anyone in your family that knows anything about it. Just ask, and they'll help.
It's really good advice.
It is.
Yeah. I've never really given advice to anyone like that before.
So, Danni, I think that's pretty much everything that we had wanted to ask you today. We've covered all the questions that I had anyway. Rhea, I hope we got all the questions you had too.
Absolutely, like, we just flew through those.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you so much for this wonderful chat and being so open and honest about your journey. I can imagine it's not been easy. We do know that you have more journey in front of you, and we would love for you to keep us up to date on your future and where it leads. And we know we're always here. You're not ever alone. So our inbox is always open. Just message the group at any time.
Yeah,
definitely. And just thank you for, I think we always say, Rhea, thank you for being open about everything and giving it from your perspective, because everybody's journey is different, and I'm sure there'll be people listening who will resonate with what you've said a lot, and they'll maybe take some stuff on board, and it'll maybe help them on their journey. So thank you for sharing your story. And it can't have been easy bringing up some of the details that you brought up. So
not really, but it was okay. It was good to talk about it.
Yeah,
I appreciate it as well.
And do you have any final words for anyone listening in?
If anyone wants to contact me, my social media stuff will be on the website. My inbox is always open if you need to talk. I'm an open book.
I love that.
That's brilliant.
Really sweet. That's really nice. Well, thanks again for joining us today, Danni. And you take care of yourself.
I shall.
We wish you all the best. Speak to you soon, Danni.
Bye, darling.
Bye. So it was really, really good having Danni in a chat today. I don't know about you, but I just learned so much from her. There was stuff in there that I had no clue about, so it was really nice to get her perspective.
Absolutely. And the things that she was able to do from such a short diagnosis, that she knew that it was gonna end, and that she could just move forward. Like, that's a huge step. So hearing that she was able to do that was fantastic.
Yeah, it really is. And she was so open about it. It was really nice to get just a completely open perspective from it. I know that can be difficult with anxieties too, so it was really nice to hear that from her. But we also wanted to mention that Danni had, prior to recording this podcast, chosen a charity, just sort of off the back of what she's going to be talking about, that if anybody did want to support, they could do so. So the charity she had chosen was Anxiety UK. We will put the link to that on our website in the section where Danni has put her blurb in as well, and all of her social media links. And if you are watching this on YouTube, we'll also put the link to the charity in the description box below.
She also picked some links to share that helped her when she was going through this journey. Now the links that she has chosen are for Scotland, so we will try to find the same links for the rest of the UK. But if you are finding yourself struggling, then maybe have a look and see if any of the symptoms match with something, and then obviously you can take that to the doctors with you and say, look, this is where I think I'm at, this is what I'm suffering with, and this site helped me feel okay about it because I felt not alone, and is this something that I could be going through?
Yeah, exactly. And with all that being said, as always, we will close with our little spoonful of knowledge that we like to leave you all with. So Maria, would you do the honours today?
Well, from Danni herself, we thought it was only right to share a piece of her advice because it was just the best advice, is no matter your situation, no matter who you have around you, there is always somebody to talk to. So always talk. There are websites, there are phone numbers to phone. And if you are at crisis point, please call 999 or take yourself to A&E. They will not judge, they will listen, and they will help. So you're not please talk.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it by myself.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Danni, for that.
Yeah.
Great advice. You made me feel at home. Any anxiety I had prior to doing the podcast today, you took away. She was just wonderful. So thank you.
It really was. It was well. And we hope you all enjoyed it at home as well. So and we look forward to the next one.
Yeah, so from me
and from me,
bye.
bye.